Often, many people now are choosing as an alternative to stretchers and stretch canvas a wooden panel. The benefits of the wooden panel, of course, are that unlike canvas, it's a rigid surface to work on. So a lot of people who are working, particularly if they're working quite fine detailed work and they don't want that sort of tension, that spring in the canvas, they prefer to work on a solid rigid surface, moving towards panels. This is a basic wooden panel. It has a birch ply face and a tulip wood subframe. All of the subframes, like the stretcher bars, are made from the same wood, tulip wood or American poplar, which, as I said, is all FSC. The alternative to the birch panel, of course, is the gaboon panel. This is gaboon or marine ply, which is it's a redwood. It's a mahogany equivalent. Mahogany itself is not available FSC graded, so the closest thing to it is this. Mahogany, of course, is a very old and traditional painting surface, so a lot of people do like to have this redwood. It's very lightweight, has quite a strong grain in it. And often when people are using these, they'll varnish the back to bring out the colour in it. It has obviously a rigid surface. A lot of people will choose panels because they'll still want to work on canvas, but wanting to work on a rigid surface because of the nature of the work that they're doing. They'll stretch the canvas on a panel first, then once the work has been completed, they'll take that off and put it onto a stretcher to display it and to show it. The types of panels that we do are either using the gaboon and marine ply as a surface or the birch ply as a surface. Alternately, we also have what is called Ecology Zero Added Formaldehyde MDF, which, unlike standard MDF, is not filled with the formaldehyde that makes MDF so toxic and can cause that yellowing to the work and the deterioration of it over time. It's a little heavier than the standard MDF, but it is a much better and a much sounder alternative. You can get a very smooth surface with it without any kind of grain or anything like that. So people often will use this. It's very dense, and there isn't it doesn't have the same kind of absorbency in the face that a ply would have, particularly the marine ply. Once the panels are made, we also prime them. This is an acrylic prime piece of Ecologic MDF. It's just a basic acrylic primer sprayed onto the face and dries with a very smooth finish that can be worked directly onto. So it is actually, once sprayed, a finished, completed surface without any need for further sanding or applying any further coats of primer. Also, we have this here is a traditional gesso panel, which is rabbit skin glue mixed with chalk powder and also titanium white pigment to lighten it as much as possible. It has a slightly off-white sort of colour, slightly creamier than the acrylic, which is just completely a bright white. But it's a very old-fashioned, very traditional painting surface. It also, is used in gilding and a few other applications. This again is sprayed on, mixed, so sprayed very smoothly, so it dries to a very smooth finish. It can then be sanded to whatever finish required. So you have a completely smooth and clean face surface all around. The benefit of a panel is the rigidity of it. The actual sheet surface that is placed onto the subframe will hold the thing completely stiff and straight and flat and prevent any kind of twisting that can occur with stretchers sometimes. Once you get into very large sizes, they can be a lot heavier than stretchers, particularly with an MDF panel. But they are a very common and increasingly popular alternative to stretchers because it does have that stiff, firm surface. Whereas the canvas, of course, no matter how tightly it's stretched, was still going to have some spring in it. The subframe on the back, once you get into larger sizes, crossbars are required just to keep the frame and support the sheet to prevent it from dipping and falling as it goes. But on a panel of this size, it's not necessary. The panel is constructed, the subframe is underpinned and stapled together to make sure it has a completely 90-degree perfect joint. The sheet itself is applied using glue so that there are no pinholes that can be deteriorated by primer. when we used to pin them and put filler in them, when we did then apply coats of gesso or acrylic primer, it would start to deteriorate the filler. So when the surface was done, you'd have little dimples going all the way around. So now the sheet is just glued to it, weighted down, and then sanded completely smooth all the way around, so that there's nothing penetrated the face of it at all. It's a completely smooth, intact surface. As an alternative to the more traditional straight line shaped stretchers and panels, we also make a variety of different shapes, circles and ovals most popularly. This is an oval stretcher, stretched with medium pre-sized linen. It's an MDF frame, Ecologic MDF frame, cut to the shape of the oval, with a stretcher bar lid attached to the side, making so that it still has the same profile as our wooden stretcher bars. It's then stretched with pre-sized linen. It's the same with this one, which is a circle stretched with unprimed fine linen, made in exactly the same way as the oval. When stretching a circular stretcher or any non-straight line shape, primed linen can't be used. It has to be either an unprimed linen or cotton or a pre-sized linen. By moistening the edge of it slightly, it can be stretched onto to leave a smooth surface on a curved edge. This is a circular panel, which is a tulip wood subframe assembled and then routed out into the shape of a circle, with a marine clay or gaboon surface base placed onto the top of it. It operates like it's doing. It will function exactly the same as a square panel, only it's round. But the wooden subframe on this one, unlike the MDF on these, means that it doesn't have the same problems as an MDF circle would have, and it looks a lot nicer with a wooden frame.